Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 meeting of the Goffstown Economic Development Council. If you could all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Starting with Sylvia, do a roll call.
Sure. Sylvia Von Allock here for Joanne Duffy.
Oscar Overlook member.
Samantha Kearns, member.
Chet Bowen, Chair.
Dick Bruno, vice chair.
Charlie Birchmeyer, member.
Pete Georgantis, selectman's rep.
Thank you. So we have two sets of minutes to go through. We have, I believe, we have the October meeting as well as the November meeting. So we'll start with the October meeting. If you were here and you reviewed them, I'd like to take a motion to approve.
I don't think I was here.
I do not believe you were.
I was here.
Okay.
Yeah. Motion to approve, I guess, but do we have, does it count or?
I'm trying to, you were here?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Peter was here, you were not here. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we're good there. Barely, but yes, so motion to approve.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor say aye. Aye, any opposed? Abstain, okay, that one passes. And then we'll do November 5th, 2025. Can you get a motion to approve?
I'm just trying to get through this. They didn't get them.
Oh, you didn't see this one? All
No.
right, take your time, it's fine.
I will motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second if nobody has any corrections.
Sure, second. Wait for any discussion. If you're ready.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstain? Okay. Okay, moving on. We were discussing Goffstown EDC goals at the last meeting. If you did see the minutes, there was a lot of discussion around 79E as well as creating a business resource list. So I will just open it up to anyone who wants to continue that discussion.
I'll start.
Sure.
Only just, this is considering different goals. And I'm just going to read some things that I have been jotting down to really target some of the stuff that we talked about before. So I listed 3 or 4 things that I'll read them off to you, and if you have any questions. But I said the first goal should be to encourage and enable new and existing commercial entities to settle and grow in Goffstown, thereby growing the town's tax base. The second would be to encourage and promote the use of tax incentives to stimulate commercial growth. And that kind of goes together, but the other one that I've worked at is to pursue commercial uses of undeveloped land, which again we had started, and by enhancing those properties with the necessary amenities for commercial use. So again, this is just my words. We can enhance or we can talk about it. And the fourth one that I had was really based on interacting with other town committees and boards to achieve our goal.
Okay. So starting with those, discussion on that?
They sound good. Like, do our goals need to be, I'm not saying they're lofty, but within those goals, there's certain things that we can do, right? Do those need to be clarified or put in to the goals, you know what I mean? Like, the first one, I don't remember exactly, but it's like, how do we do that?
Well, why I said it this way was only because it is broad. And we can, just use this umbrella to work under it. But I think it's pointed, the number one that I read off was to encourage and enable new and existing commercial entities to settle and grow. I mean, that's our job, I think.
Yeah.
After that, it's we could add anything we want, but it's just that I wanted to see I guess, a broader umbrella, and then work under that, which we've been doing. I thought it was too targeted the last time. We talked about the Southern New Hampshire Planning Survey, and that was very targeted. Never came to fruition, but this gives us some room to operate under this umbrella, I guess.
Yeah. So that, yeah, I like it. I mean, the only thing I would say is that maybe, like, how do we get to that? Like, do we set goals for ourselves, like, within, like, using social media to promote the certain programs or whatever we're trying to highlight, or vacancies or whatever they are? Yeah.
Certainly, if you have any other ideas as far as more pointed,
Like, do
I
they
just
belong
wanted-
there, I guess, this is my question. Like, something like I'm asking, does it belong in that? Yours sounds great. I'm just wondering are there sub-goals or something like that, if that makes sense? Like tasks or something?
Yeah.
I think what you might want to consider, once you have your overarching goals, then you go to your objectives and then your strategies.
Okay.
So I think first it's sort of an agreement amongst you on those overarching goals, which I think Dick did a great job
Mhm.
in sort of formulating, and you all decide whether those ring true or well or whatever. And then the next part it gets harder and harder. It's the brainstorm on, okay, well, what are the then objectives, and then what are the strategies?
No, I like them. I like all of them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because, it is broad, and then after that, it's like, okay, now what do we do? But I think objectives is certainly the next level, and then strategize over how we're gonna achieve those objectives.
The first thing you said about encouraging new and existing entities to settle in Goffstown is the overarching goal, period. And I think that you did a good job with 2 and 3 of saying these are the objectives to achieve that.
Yeah.
So it's I think to your point, the sub-objectives from that. So tax incentives, maybe we just change the wording a little bit. Inform new and existing entities about tax incentives that are in existence. Or even maybe it's start with educate ourselves about these tax incentives that we can then inform the businesses on. That would make sense, I think. And then enhancing existing, yeah, that is a big one.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, the first one is the overall objective of the committee. And I think the rest of them come under that heading. And when you say tax incentives, what kind of tax incentives are you talking about? Are you talking about going to, a 79E is
Yeah.
for a business that's there or wants to come into town, and good would be Rite Aid. Okay, somebody could come into Rite Aid now under 79E and upgrade that building, update that project. Okay, and that their taxes wouldn't go up
Right.
for 5 or 7 years, depending on which plan they went with. Also, you talk of tax incentives. Are you talking about a
I guess I was referring.
tax district where there's no,
Yeah, TIF, a TIF district, absolutely, yeah, all of those types of mechanisms that we could use to incentivize. 79E was certainly on my mind in the TIF district. Those were
a
specifically.
friend of mine
where I
just
was
bought a
thinking.
place over in Newington, and he's doing a 79E, it's an old bank, and that's what he's using to rehab the old bank, it's a
Yeah.
79E. So, but a TIF district is not something that you just pull out of your hat, you know, I mean, that's something that has to go into the planning board, and then has to go on a ballot. It's just not, that's not something that we can just say, okay, we're gonna do a TIF district here. That's a whole process to get there.
And I agree with that, but I think it can start here, that we plant the seed. I think Samantha had a plan, for like the Shaw's Plaza. Could that become some sort of district? But we're planting the seed, I think that's part of our job too. And then bring it up the
No,
ranks.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying.
No, I know we
It's
can't.
something.
I know we can't
Yeah.
propose it, but we could at least, if we saw the opportunity to make it to district.
Yeah.
again, we
I
plant the
think you
seed.
have to identify, if you did create a TIF district, what kind of who are you gonna draw or who are you targeting?
Yeah.
You know, usually it's commercial industrial is usually a TIF district, not so much retail. But it could be, I guess, you know?
Could be.
Can you read your second goal again?
Second was to encourage and promote the use of tax incentives to stimulate commercial.
Sorry, and the third one?
Okay.
Sorry.
The third one's a little bit, I didn't really think it all through, but it's to pursue commercial uses of undeveloped land by enhancing those properties with the necessary amenities for commercial use.
So I like that one, and I think where we flesh more into that is talking about the infrastructure part of it, of like the water, sewer, natural gas. And I'm not gonna be able to really help you with the words that
But
you're gonna
no,
try to
and
put in there.
when I said amenities, that was
Yeah, but
my
like
general
infrastructure
feeling
to
for the
it.
maybe infrastructure is the better word.
Okay,
Uh,
cause I like
necessary
the,
infrastructure for commercial, I mean, that's what I was really pointing to,
right,
is to enhance, it's kind of like we talked about the gas line coming down Mass Road. That's an enhancement, but it's infrastructure that's needed to make some of those properties, make them viable.
right, and just
Talk
make
about
them
like-
more appealing.
Yeah, I
that-
mean, the specific one was for the villa
Yeah.
property. So, yeah, I think it's infrastructure. Probably I use amenities, probably that's not really.
Utilities.
I think it's really.
One of the things was the sewer up Daniel Plummer. There's no sewer up there.
Yeah, right.
When once you get up to there, then you go down the other side, there's more properties over there, even across the street over at 114 and Shirley, there's properties over there.
Okay.
Right now, there's a salvage yard, but there's other stuff that could go in there.
Do,
You know, that's why that developed into a solar farm, because there's nothing else there. There was no sewer, there's no water really. I mean, you could put wells in, but there was nothing that was going to enhance a business to go in there.
do we as a committee, or maybe do the voters have the ability to, because the sewer commission can decide whether it is advantageous for them to build sewer lines there. I think they have kind of determined that it is not. But does this committee or do the voters have the ability to make is maybe the wrong word here.
Mandate,
Yeah, to vote for them to do that. We can't.
not unless you want to put the money up.
Well, I mean, it would be to have the sewer commission, the sewer commission has the money to do it. They have like a pretty big reserve fund to build new infrastructure. So it would be to ask them to do
Well,
it.
their infrastructure needs a lot of work,
Right,
so, same thing with, Goffstown Water, their infrastructure, they just bought a big piece of property. But their infrastructure, like we're doing some stuff with them, the DPW is, as they upgrade some of the old stuff in town, especially over in the Pernonville area, they're upgrading some of their lines and stuff, that the old clay pipe failing,
Right. breaking,
and so, a lot of their funds are earmarked for that. Plus, we don't know, when you go to sewer, I don't know if anybody's coming, you should have somebody come in and talk to you all about sewer. All of our stuff goes to Manchester, and if Manchester decides to build a new facility for some reason, we're obligated to participate in building that, funding part of that.
That's an obligation that we have.
Yep.
but,
To sign on them.
but at least from when Dave, I can't remember his
Yeah,
last
Dave.
name, came in, the sewer commission has enough money that if there was a catastrophic failure and every single sewer pump failed, we could replace them all. And then they still have a little bit of extra funds. And maybe not a little bit, but they have a couple they have a couple $1 million, even if all of the pump houses failed. And I think that it would be interesting to say, getting sewer up Daniel Plummer. I guess, does the committee have the power to mandate them to do that? You said no. That would have to be something that would be on like a warrant article.
And for it to get there, it has to go through the sewer commission to the select board. So ideally, the voters they can do what you said.
Right.
But it's through voting in people on the sewer commission who are willing and want to do that and would sort of technically run on that platform. And I don't know how many sewer commission people have even had a platform in the past few years. I think it's a tough one. But that is a way to, there's a way to do it where the voters essentially have that voice.
Right.
Sylvia, I'm sorry.
Well, I think going back to Dick's, that these objectives, we were saying that the first one was the goal, the next three were objectives. If we say that, and then now we're starting to get into strategies, I think for the commercial use on vacant land, one of the strategies might be to first identify vacant and underutilized lands. And then if you go to the next one, the interacting with other town committees, I think it might be begin meeting with like the sewer commission or the water commission and start having a relationship so that they understand your goal. They may have other goals. Their goals may be to, maintain the existing system, things like that. But if you, I think just start strategizing, then you won't get stuck. You'll be able to build on what we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I think.
We've already identified those properties.
Right.
We'd already have, that was done earlier in the
Beautiful.
year, where those properties were identified that were commercial, weren't developed, or, why weren't they developed type of a thing, and we addressed some of the landowners.
Are they,
But it's-
are they identifiable via a map, or like if you had a meeting with them and could you show them a map that here are the properties, here's the existing overlay of the sewer and the water district,
But
where
you see,
where can we go?
That's exactly where I want that all to go, is because I think that's what we need to do. We need to be the ones that, take off of what Samantha said is, okay, we see a possibility. So now, who do we have to get involved? We have to get sewer involved. So that's the process. Now we talk about the process. So I think we're, again, as you say, strategize, and then we go to specific places that we want to work if we identify those. But we certainly have started the process with looking at those lands that are undeveloped. But there's that's one set of things that we can do. And the other, obviously, is what existing properties, can other existing properties be enhanced in any way? Can we bring new businesses into town? Again, with the tip district.
And you've got to get the property owners on board that they want to spend the money to hook up. It's not cheap to hook up into the sewer system. There's big there's some heavy charges.
Sure.
So if you take, like we're talking Daniel Plummer, if you look at that whole complex up there, well, he just went through and paved all that, the whole thing. And,
So you're gonna
sitting having a
so you're
drink
gonna
with him,
do it.
I can tell you right now, he has no inclinations of digging it up and running sewer in there right now. So-
Right. Well, and I think, I don't know him. I would assume that he paved his parking lot because he was like, might as well, like, nobody paves their parking lot unless they need to pave it.
Oh, it needs to be
Right.
paved, right.
And so, but he didn't have the option to hook into the sewer line. He doesn't have it. So it's like, might as well pave it, And so, but if it was said to him like, hey, you can pay $20,000 to hook up to the sewer line, then it's like he can decide, oh, like I want to do that or I don't want to. Like now, now that gentleman doesn't even have, like he's probably not gonna do it even if he has the choice because he has already paved his parking lot. But like, if we don't extend it, then nobody gets the choice on whether they want to hook into it or not. But I think that original, I know for a homeowner to hook onto an existing sewer line, it's like $5,000. But if they have to extend the pipe a little bit too far, then it's like $15,000. And I mean, that's just for like a single family home. And I'm using very rough numbers. If we put the sewer line there, people can choose whether they want to connect to it or not. And I think that that's the first step, is us paying to put the sewer line there. If nobody uses it, we've made a bad call. That's a bummer, but that's a risk that we have to take, because right now, nobody, the gentleman on Daniel Plummer is not gonna pay $100,000 to extend the sewer line to his place. That's impossible for him. So we have to just give him the choice, and hopefully he'll take it, right? And the same thing if we extended the sewer line, or the natural gas line to the high school, maybe the school board would meet and say, we don't want to hook up to the natural gas line. We don't want to do that. But if we don't give them the choice to, and then this committee will have made a bad recommendation, and we'll have to live with that. But if we give people the option, then they can choose whether they want to do it. And I think the general consensus is that most people will do it.
Not disagreeing with you, but I want you to, we have to look at the whole town. And when you're running that, whether it's the sewer line or you're running a gas line up Mass Road, you're talking a very, very small part of our town that would even vote for that, because they don't have the ability to hook into it. So that would be a special article. And then you've got to get people who are never going to, or don't have any sight in sight that are ever going to have natural gas, even this part of town, is not going to have natural gas, to vote for something would be very difficult. I'm not saying arguing that it can't be done. I'm just saying you have to look at the roadblocks. I'm thinking that we can't concentrate on something that's going to be almost impossible. Does that make sense?
It does.
Don't put your efforts on something like that. It's the same thing when you go to sewer. If you say, hey, we need, and sewer's not cheap. You're probably looking, I would say up there, probably $6 or $7 million are on a sewer line up there on your plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Who's going to pay for that?
Right, well, so like, my idea would be the sewer commission would pay for it. And then,
And they work on profits, right? They can't build something and say, I will build it and they will come, or, build it and they will come. That's.
Yeah, well, from a business standpoint, it's return on investment. You need to, they need to, and I think, again, that's part of what we should focus on, is we've got to show and basically sell the fact that this is going to be good for the town in the long run.
Right.
We make that investment, we already know, or we should already know, that we have X, Y, and Z properties that are going to tie in. We can't just, I don't think anybody's going to accept the fact that, put that sewer line up there and we hope that there's good, I'm just playing the devil's advocate, because everything's about money, and in this town, many towns.
Right.
We're squeezing for dollars. We want to show people that there can be a return on the investment. That's part of what I think.
right, so we know that a hotel is not going to build itself on Daniel Plummer Road right now, because there is no sewer line. We already know that for a fact, because St. Anselm's explored that possibility. They said no. I know it does sound a little corny to say, like, if we build it, they will come. But right now, we're not building it, and they're not coming. So to me, it seems like the alternative would be to start building it. They might not come, but I think more than likely they will.
That piece of property is a whole nother animal, because that's down below. That involves pump stations. And
Now, what property are we talking
we're
about?
talking about the old catering place.
Okay. Yeah.
That St. A's had come in and said, be nice to put a hotel in there.
Right.
Right, and I'm using a hotel as a very broad example of something that uses a lot of sewer, you know? But we know that a hotel company is not going to build there because it's not connected to the sewer line, and they can't. We also know that like a hotel company isn't going to pay to build a hotel and build a sewer line. They'll pay to build a hotel, but they won't pay to build a sewer line. Somebody has to blink first.
I think St. Anne's was talking more a dormitory type stuff on that piece of property.
Yeah, but I guess I'm thinking something that would create a little bit more like tax revenue. I don't think the dormitories would create enough tax revenue.
It's a building, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
You gotta
mean,
tax it, yeah.
Well, but
Isn't,
I
sorry
would,
about
I
this
know that
stuff.
I'm, as a religious college, they have some tax exempt. They wouldn't make as much tax revenue as a hotel would, or even as like a regular office building, or as,
No, that's not true, because they have the religious part is separate from like the dormitories and stuff. They don't get that tax, they get taxed on that.
they don't get like a lower tax rate for being an educational institution.
Maybe as an educational, they might, but not as a religious, because they,
Yeah.
no, that's a whole
It wouldn't be like
different-
totally free, but
Right.
I still think it would be less than like a traditional business would
I
be.
don't think so, but I mean, I don't remember what we talked about.
So
I don't know.
on
Do you
point
know?
3 though, I don't know for sure, but on point 3, the piece that we talked about, if you go back, I'm not sure how many meetings now, was really about, we've got a big picture, really good goal, because you're absolutely right, if we can do this and offer a choice, we can incentivize them. That's the point you're making with point 3. But there's also that reality that you're talking about. So if I recall correctly, it was more like, let's identify a place where we can slowly do something that's palatable to the voters, and that we can get, at least make small progress towards something that maybe we don't ever get to see, but we're doing it slowly but surely. Am I wrong when I say that? Does anyone remember that?
I know that the group talked about SMART goals. You know,
Right.
You know, achievable, all of that,
Measurable, everything, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I guess the difference is like, do we want to focus our efforts on a place that is already has like all of the bells and whistles involved?
That's called shovel ready.
Right, that we, or like the Rite Aid, for example, that's an already vacant building that is already built to the specific standards of a bunch of different retail locations. Or do we want to pick a place that is undeveloped to try to get a new person in there? And I guess to pick a place that's undeveloped, we would have to then start talking more about like the infrastructure that goes into it. But like a place like Rite Aid, we don't really have to talk about the infrastructure that goes into it because
It's already there.
it's already all there. And that would be what would our focus want to be? Someplace that's like Rite Aid would probably be easier.
How do you attract those type of businesses, I think, is what you're asking for. Big Lots, it's empty. Namco's empty. Those are in the Shaw's Plaza.
Yeah.
Both of those buildings are empty. Then you got Rite Aid next door.
Maybe your goals is some of the stuff like you're saying, you're both saying, is like, that's our subtasks, of like, how do we do
Exactly.
that?
Because
Because like you said, Chad, it's like let's promote what we have, like, we do want, like, that beautiful big vision of like turning it to Portsmouth or whatever it is, you know what I mean, just, that's there, right, but how do we get there is like the little, what is it, small pebbles make a pile, right, so using the things we have.
Yeah, and I think then that was going to be our next, but when we did the survey of undeveloped properties, then we're gonna say, okay, what does it need? Or we look at the properties like a Rite Aid and say, okay, how do we get people to get interested in that? Well, they've got real estate departments, I'm sure, right now that are working on that, but I think we should be involved in going to the real estate department of whoever has them now, CVS, I don't know, who
I
bought them.
think before Joanne left, she reached out. I don't
She did,
remember.
yeah, she did.
I
I
know
don't
she,
remember.
Yeah.
I don't
I know
know.
she had reached out to CVS to see if that was something that they would be to move into town, and I don't believe that, I believe they said no.
I thought Rite Aid had an agreement with many of them, like what happened in Newmarket where I live, it became a Dollar General. And I thought that that's many of the Rite Aids were just becoming Dollar Generals.
There's one is that there's a sign out front that there's an auction. So that building is actually up for auction.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
So that might be a, you know,
Interesting.
reach out to some existing businesses and maybe it's a cheap buy for like maybe CVS was just like, no, I don't want to do that, but maybe it's a cheap buy now. Like that could be something we could do.
You know, one thing that this group hasn't chatted about yet, although the fourth one, interacting with other town committees to reach the goals, is, and luckily Joanne's coming back in case I get shot down for this, but is to work with the planning board and town staff to sort of create a fast track process. Because as we've all heard from developers, time is money. And if, let's say you create this process where it's a developer wants to get something approved in 2 months versus 8 months, that's a huge difference. It's a lot of money for someone. And maybe you would have an approved, the engineer that they would hire, you would have approved engineers that knew the process and all that. But that's something that this group could work with the planning board and town staff so everyone would feel comfortable about something like that. I know in the development community, there's so many complaints, this town is horrible to go through. I don't hear anything like that, by the way, for this town.
No, that's, you're
I hear it all the
absolutely,
time.
But,
all the time.
but
Goffstown's terrible to deal with, all the time.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, I'm telling you.
but
You
I-
hear it all the time.
I've
Chet, you've
only-
heard it.
I hear it all the time.
I just know that they're very professional, and it's nice to be thorough. But if you had a process that you could work through with the folks that have to deal, then I think that could be added to your strategies. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that way.
and I think we talked about that last year. That's when we, we were talking to some specific businesses. We brought a couple of new businesses in and say, did you have any problem? What kind of problem did you have in getting your business up and running with the town officials? So we were searching for those answers. I don't think we ever kind of did anything with that.
You're never gonna get somebody to say that live on TV,
Yeah.
because anytime they get ready to do another project, they're not gonna,
Yeah,
they're
it's gonna be
gonna
tough.
not look favorable on it.
But
Now, I
that,
could just tell you, I got a message that Rite Aid does not own the building, and CVS is not interested, how's that?
There we go.
oh, okay.
So to your point though, this council is supposed to have a planning board rep on it to help drive some of these conversations, and I've been trying to get someone to come back from that board. I don't think anyone's been interested in a while, but hopefully I'll certainly reach out and see if I can try that again. Because I do think that was helpful when we were able to point out, these are some of the obstacles that these businesses have seen, what do you think we can do? I know one of the things that came out of that, I could be wrong, so correct me, but I think now it's almost a requirement they go through TRC first.
Yes.
So that can speed up the process, to your point about finding the right professionals and getting some of that feedback first, so it can speed up the process. A lot of times people would come in and it was almost like they were being educated for the first time by the planning board on what they need to do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what their feedback we would get is, that's a lot of surprises. And we can't meet for another month, and that's only just to start from scratch again, and then it's another month. So I do think the TRC move is good, and we certainly prompted that conversation, but that was part of having a planning board member here, so I'll reach out.
Yeah, I think that-
TRC's not gonna be, wouldn't be necessary on something like a Rite Aid or unless.
No, it's a development, I agree.
Unless it's
Yeah.
a change of use of something. but-
Yep.
But I think it would be helpful to get somebody that, because we're working, I'm sure the planning board touches on a lot of the subjects that we talk
No
about
doubt.
here.
Planning
So-
board looks at what's in front of them, that's their job.
Mhm.
Let's give
They're
it to
not
them in
looking,
front of them.
but they're not planning?
They're just trying to follow a plan,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
the plan is, and they do that every year with their zoning articles and things like that, so. And you gotta remember now, with what's going on with the state, there's no such thing as, secured zoning as far as
Yeah.
there's certain things that
Are you mandated to be here?
my mandate.
Like, mandate's the wrong word, but like, does the select board say as a whole that we need a select board member to be on the Economic Development Council?
Yes.
Why don't all the other committees do that? Like the budget committee mandates somebody to be on CIP.
Because that's a money position. It has to do with money.
Right, and so like the,
It's like
Budget
the
com-
budget, just like the select board has somebody on that, we also have somebody on
Right.
planning.
but why doesn't the planning board mandate somebody to be here? Or the
I
zoning
don't know
board?
what's the makeup of the committees.
Yeah, isn't that part of the
It's part of the charter.
charter?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, so I think every committee has a charter, and it says specifically you're supposed to have a member of this board or an official of the select board, planning board, whatever the case may be, and I think that's probably in our charter.
We have a member on almost every committee. just,
Right,
the
but I
select
guess
board
I'm
does.
We
wondering,
have somebody that goes to sewer, we have
Yeah.
somebody.
I'm wondering why the planning board and the zoning board, like they had somebody here at one point,
For the longest time, yeah, it's more reason that they don't.
but now they don't. Why? I guess why is no one making them do that?
So
Why
I'll-
is no one making someone from planning board or zoning board be
Probably
here?
be something you would take
Good
up with the
question.
planning board.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the chair on that, because again, we're in a new year, maybe something has changed, hopefully something's changed, and I'll reach out again.
Yeah.
But
I
we've-
mean, not, I realize make and force, it sounds a little, it doesn't sound
But
the
it-
nicest way,
Well,
but.
It's
In
part
the
of the
same, in the
charter.
same vein, you know, the Grassmere Water Precinct is supposed to have somebody on the budget committee.
Right, and,
Do they have anybody?
no, and like we, encourage them whenever they come to present their budget to have to join someone and they say.
I served for
"Thanks."
the Grassmere Water Precinct on the budget committee for a few years.
Yeah,
Because I was the chair of the Grassmere, that's one of my things I've done, water commissioner. But, and I served on the budget committee for Grassmere so.
yeah,
But it's, there again, there's not a lot that the water precinct can do except vote on things.
yeah, well, and I guess like, I think having somebody from planning and zoning on this committee especially would be helpful.
Well, because we get some information because Joanne is typically with us, and so she's the planning department, so you do get some information as to what's going on. As a matter of fact, I think we asked Joanne to give us a report on what the planning board has done, which might affect us. I mean, that is something, but I agree with you, I think there should be something.
Well, just remember that this board is advisory only. Which is a big difference in planning board, our decision board, sewer's a decision board, CIP's a decision board, conservation's a decision board. This is one of the boards that's advisory only. So that's probably why they don't have anybody there.
Our advice would be to have somebody here.
Can we maybe make like a friendly invitation instead of me using words like make and force?
Yeah, I'll
Like-
reach out to the planning board chair.
Okay.
I will absolutely do that, and see, and also, when Joanne gets back, ask her to resume, what Dick is saying is that we used to have on our standard agenda every single month what's coming up on the planning board, so that if we needed to write a letter in support of a business or reach out to that business and ask if there's anything we can do to support them, we would know about it, or if there was something involving zoning that might, reconstitute a zone or do something like that, we'd be aware of it, so we can, all we can do is, to Peter's point, is write a letter and say something, but we would know at least what's happening, make an appearance at that board, so that kind of fits in with goal number 4 for you.
This board should be updated on any changes in the zoning laws, and that there's some really, really big things happening in Concord when it comes to taking control of the local boards.
Well, just as we did with that letter about what was the bill
It was the
that
commercial.
passed about the commercial.
Yeah, the first floor commercial, yeah.
Did we get any feedback on that, by the way, or is it too soon to know?
I think it's too soon to know, but I think that that's in play right now. Like they're trying to keep some local control and like that little caveat that they can still make that decision and it can't be mandated by, speaking of your word, our favorite word, mandated to us from the state itself. So
Right.
And there's a bunch of, I just was reading some of the legislative updates that just came out, and there's some, you know, stuff dealing with real estate and,
Right.
and zoning that scary that they're taking control away from the local towns.
Mhm.
And,
You're right, I mean, those are the things we should know in order to, just to be informed and what can or we can't do, or can we, again, state our position to the planning board or the select board.
But I do like all of the goals. Thank you for making them.
they are good. They're great.
Well, it wasn't meant to be, I was just throwing it out there.
No, but I
because
think you did a really good job.
You did.
And it gives somewhere to start, to open the discussion.
Yeah. Now, do I have to write them up?
Nope.
Do we have a motion to accept them?
I
Yeah,
will-
but we have to,
I will
go ahead.
review the minutes. I'll be looking at the tape and I'll type this up as
Oh, good.
meeting minutes and so, yeah, I didn't write them down verbatim, but
Well.
I will get it right off the tape.
Oh, that's right, okay. I'm on tape.
Do we need to motion to accept them?
We
Do
do,
we need to
but-
work out the third one a little bit
So
more?
I think number one, this is just my opinion, but I think number one, number 2 and 3 literally exist as objectives under number 1. So I think that's the first goal, unless there's someone who disagrees. And I do think that interacting with other committees is separate and good. And I think those are 2
Oh, okay.
blanket goals that I think we can put together that we can actually focus on for a year.
So you're saying those two?
Yeah, because 2 and 3 fit within
Fit
objectives under number
underneath.
1. Yeah.
More or less in the objective area, like you were talking about those.
Yeah, I actually think the fourth one, that working with town committees, actually also.
Also fits under number, yeah, we could.
Yeah, I
could
think
see that argument.
all three are, yeah, because then when you have your conversations with water or sewer commissions and planning board, whoever it is, you know, I think that makes sense, because it's all towards the first one.
Right.
I think that makes sense.
Yes.
So we put that first one, make a motion for that first one to be our actual goal. And then we can, on new business and old business, always have these other pieces and
what's the
any
current
progress
goal
we
right
make.
now?
Oh, goodness.
There's 4
The
goals.
current goal
There's like 4 goals.
Unachievable.
Where-
to implement the local business engagement and
Yeah, they
retention
are.
focus group program in Goffstown with a primary focus on the Pinardville area of town in conjunction with UNH Cooperative Extension by developing a leadership and community engagement with business owners in order to
Yep.
explore future support, expansion, and development. That's number 1.
That's just one.
Number 2, support the efforts and initiatives of the Main Street Program, Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, and the Goffstown Industrial Corporation, and facilitate third-party funding. Number 3, to coordinate with other town committees to help enhance improved business-friendly infrastructure.
That's already in there.
And then number 4 is to facilitate communication touchpoints with town and business stakeholders, utilizing modern mediums, including social media.
Which could all fit under just the one that you just brought to this
Yeah,
committee.
right.
So can you
Right.
read yours again?
Which one?
First one.
Just the first
The
one.
first one? To encourage and enable new and existing commercial entities to settle and grow in Goffstown, thereby growing the town's tax
Tax base.
Commercial retail,
commercial retail.
Commercial retail tax base?
Yes. No, it just, I think Peter's saying, to encourage and enable new and existing commercial and retail entities.
Entities,
Is that what you're
yeah.
talking?
I don't know if you want to include industrial, commercial, retail. That all increases that
Yeah.
tax base.
I think, yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
good with that.
Yeah.
Let's put industrial in
Work with
there.
that one, industrial, commercial, retail.
And then I'm gonna make
And
you read it
industri-
again, because
yeah.
we've changed it.
Do we need more than one goal, like?
No.
right?
Honestly, I think what we did here was we were trying to focus ourselves on these specific things when the reality is there's one charge that we have
Yep.
and we need to give ourselves room to maneuver within all of that depending on what's happening. And this was almost too specific.
Gotcha.
I understand the wisdom of doing this,
Mhm.
but it was too specific, so I think going in this direction makes more sense.
Not almost,
I
it
would
was
al-
too specific.
Can you
I would
read?
also recommend reviewing there's a chart or on all with what's going on with the vacant properties and things like that, that some of that has changed.
Yep.
Can I make you reread it again with
You're
the
gonna make a
edits that we
motion?
put in?
You're really
Yeah, well, because
Yeah,
I
that
want
makes
to put, I
sense.
want to make the motion in.
Let's get it done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so once you say the
No, I mean,
words,
that's just a goal later, I mean, that's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I'm just saying, something
All
that
right.
should be done.
what you
So-
just said, yeah, but what you're gonna read out, she's gonna make a motion on.
All right, to encourage and enable existing commercial, retail, and industrial entities to settle and grow in Goffstown, thereby growing the town's tax base.
I would like to make a motion that that be the Economic Development Council's primary goal objective
For 2026.
for 2026.
Okay.
Do you want to second it, Peter? You seem like you were seconding it.
Sure.
If you can second,
I'm just trying to breathe.
so,
Struggle.
one small point of discussion on that is that what was just read was existing, but you want to add new and existing, I believe was your original intent.
Yes.
Okay, so new and existing is the motion. With that correction.
Oh, I didn't read that, yeah. it
That's
meant-
okay. With that correction, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, motion passes unanimously. So that will be the
That's-
overall charge of the EDC for 2026. My homework between this month and next month is to reach out to the planning board chair and let them know that underneath this goal, we are really trying to get someone to come back in. And I will also, Joanne's coming back when?
I believe the 21st, that's what
I thought so
Patty
too, okay.
mentioned.
I'll also reach out to Joanne to ask if she can begin, we'll go back to the standard agenda where there's if something's coming to the planning board or something in zoning is something that could affect us or that we could help with, to add that again month by month as a point of discussion for us in each meeting. That's my
Yeah.
homework.
Do we also need to do everything you just said with the zoning board?
There is no charter for a zoning board, but we can ask nicely.
Yeah. I feel like planning and zoning kind of go
They do,
Yeah.
they go hand in
hand
hand.
in hand.
With you reaching out to planning, do we have to be specific or include anything about why we want a representative? Like, they used to be more involved, we used to have somebody here. What's different now compared to when we had somebody here that we're trying to get back to? Like, what exactly do we expect of them? Because it's something completely different to be like, well, we want someone here, than saying we want someone here for A, B, and C.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but we have a goal now similar to why Peter's here, is that we may think of something and Peter helps us understand the process. He's on the select board, he understands from beginning to end, and so he advises us on that. Planning does the same thing. So I think that's something
Yeah, I
I'll
just
keep
don't know
in
if that
mind
need
when
to
I
be
ask.
included when
Yep.
you.
Yeah, it does, and I will add that. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because, they're here to help us understand, what they've been talking about on the planning board as we listen to you about what's going on in the select board. I mean, we could talk have a meeting, say, yeah, that's a great idea. And somebody says, no, you can't do that. So-
Or vice
Exactly, that's the
versa.
problem, I mean, like we were talking about Daniel Plummer, well, sewer's not gonna go up there unless that guy wants, the people along that corridor are gonna come in. And it's not a small project, it's a huge project. Because I don't know if you've ever driven up in there,
A little bit, yeah.
pardon me?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but there's two big sections of it down, there's the one where the old gym used to be, you go down in there and that's a whole complex of there, then you go a little bit further up, and you got Cody Park all up in there, so.
Right.
That's a huge project, so.
But then, in our future meetings or future discussions, that's where we should then take those little pieces and say, okay, what can we do now that's gonna impact sooner than later? And then we can look at some of these future issues that we're talking about, some of the bigger picture items. But-
And it's something you could say to the sewer commission, would this be something you'd be thinking about in the next 10 years? And they say, oh yeah, well then that's something you can relay to those business owners and say, hey, just a heads up, it's potential that they're gonna be running sewer up here in the next 10 years, so this guy won't go and pave his property again and say, stay off my property,
Right.
Well, and I think like the vibe that I got when we talked with sewer, when we talked with natural gas, when we talked with water was kind of like, was very much like a no. And I think that we may need to kind of make a little bit more of a nudge on it, because the businesses aren't gonna come if we don't build it for them.
Businesses are already there.
Well, for Daniel Plummer, yes,
Yeah.
but like for, you know, and it would help them save a lot of money. And there's undeveloped land up there too that could be more business focused. But if it's not, then it's going to just be like a single family home that somebody puts in a septic system eventually, because it just won't, no business will develop it if there's no sewer there.
But as Peter said, I'm sure the planning board is working on current things that are happening, they're focused.
Yeah.
It might be up to us, again, in an advisory capacity, they may not be thinking about some of these undeveloped properties. And I say, have you thought about that? And I think that's the other reason to have somebody from the planning board here.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of undeveloped property on Daniel Plummer.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's not the best example
Yeah.
I'm giving, but
It might be underutilized, I think.
That
maybe a
before-
better word, yeah.
But going back to, so when you say these have been identified, I'm just wondering, is there a place we can get that, or is there a list?
I'm sorry,
or-
these what, the
The
businesses?
list, are you talking about the list?
A list, because I mentioned about, wouldn't it be great to have a map? So you could see, have a good visual, and when you have conversations with the different committees and boards, you have a visual. And so I'm just wondering, is there a list of the vacant / underutilized properties?
Yes, so going back, I'm not sure how many months now, we all took
Summer.
a section of them.
It was this one, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that's it
summertime.
right there. So,
We haven't, I mean, Joanne was the one that pulled this together, so I'm sure she has it.
Okay, okay, so I'll check with Patty, who might be able to get that to me, and I can see if your GIS or our GIS people can actually map it.
Well, and I think their map was very much that map that's up on the wall over there, and we kind of got a little mini copy of it.
Yeah, I have that here, but I think what Sylvia's saying is now put all these vacant properties that we've identified on a map.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
you know,
Like little
color
dots.
coded or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Makes
that
sense.
you're working from, I think that map, and it's easy to see where these properties are. And maybe just by putting them on a map, you might say, oh, wow, those
Things-
tie in together, don't they?
Yeah, it's just so good, such a good tool to have.
Problem in town, you know what our problem is? It's the county property.
Mm.
They have the most underutilized property in the town, is the county.
There's no way to get that back either.
Well, we never had
there's
it.
been some attempts,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And I heard today, I was dealing with some stuff, and I heard today that they're talking about putting the women's prison back there. Putting the prison
really?
in, yeah.
Is that a good tax thing for us or no? Do we get
No,
anything
it's
for
not.
it?
I mean, it's probably, it's not a good tax thing in the sense that like living in a town with a prison maybe isn't like the best for your property value. But people go to visit people at the prison, and then when they go to visit them, they get lunch in town, so like, that's kind of nice.
Maybe. Just remember where it's at. That's the problem
Yeah.
with that. You come down 114, you take a left, and it's on the right.
Yep, and
And
you
then
peel out on the way out.
And then you
Yeah.
turn around and go out of
Yeah,
town.
Yeah.
either that, maybe.
I like it though, I like that
But the-
optimism, that's good.
Right.
No, but it could be people from Manchester.
Or a
coming in
hotel.
and
Yeah.
Stop at
Yeah.
Ollie's and
You know?
Pizza Market and.
Sure.
And they
A
might- you
food
know.
truck mall, right, you know.
Right, I mean, even a food truck there would actually be really interesting. But like, you know, I think it'd be,
And they don't pay any taxes. Charge us taxes.
They charge us, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Don't
people
pay.
know if they're going like 18%.
But if they decided that there was underutilized land, you know, I don't know what their future plans are, can the town go to them and say, you know, we would like to acquire that property?
You don't think we have?
So you-
Personally went there. Twice I've been with them.
Okay.
Gone to the
But they're,
county commissioners,
yeah,
And-
along with Derek and
they,
And the answer is no, we're.
they've
might
owned
be
it since the
future use.
1800s. They don't have to pay any taxes on it. Why would they sell it to us? There's no incentive for them to.
So to get us,
Well-
I'm just gonna, oh, go ahead, and then I'll get us
I'm
back
gonna
on
tell
track.
the quick story.
Yeah.
Okay. There was the Moore General Hospital. Remember, you know where that was? Okay. That's where Unique Ford is now. There was a hospital back there, right? And it was the county hospital. And like, they made a deal with the town. The town, they just about gave it to us, very cheap money. And then the town turned around and sold it. And they were furious. And there's-
And that bad blood has carried us for
it's
50
still
years.
bad blood.
Yep.
There are still people there that remember this and don't trust us.
I didn't know that happened. I mean, I remember when the transaction took place, but I didn't know it was.
Oh, yeah, it was
It was
bad.
like that.
It's
I
bad
don't remember
blood
it, but I
there.
heard of it. But I wanna get back on track, so we have our goal, right? Our goal is set, motion approved. You're gonna try to find that list and get the map. I will
Yes.
also see if I may have
I don't
that
know.
in my email
I
from
don't
when
know if
Joanne
there's a
sent it.
notation on
And
where
if
it might.
there is, I'll send it to you. I'm also reaching out to the planning board chair. I think that summarizes where we're at now about getting a planning board rep. Is there anything else?
You were gonna try to get, was it sewer or water to come in?
We can look at getting water to come in.
They just bought a big piece of property
Where's that, Peter? Where?
at the old Heathfield pit.
Do you know somewhere who you can ask nicely, or do you want me to do it?
Probably better off coming from you. They're not
Got
happy
it.
with me.
Got it. Okay, so we
Well,
do
and we
that.
gotta get both, I guess Grassmere might not be as, there's not as much like industrial space in Grassmere, but we
Oh,
should.
they're so wrong.
Well, we should invite both, I'm saying we should invite both of our
So,
precincts.
Grassmere's just about, not built out, but Grassmere does have some potential.
Right,
And that is on the back road.
right, okay, yeah. I guess I forget that is Grassmere. I think of Grassmere, I go from Grassmere Town Hall and then I go left and I don't continue towards Manchester. That's where Grassmere like
But
stops
they
for me.
going down there, there's a small stretch in there that doesn't have water, but there's a stretch from the Manchester line that feeds, Dunkin' Donuts, and all that area
Down
right
to the
there.
Y, you're talking about down to the Y?
Yes.
But we should, but I guess my point would be is we want both water precincts. They don't have to both come on the same day, but,
The only water precinct the only thing Grassmere can really affect is the industrial park down there where they just built the dome.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, unless the people want to build in the residential area, but
which I think some people do. Some people want like home businesses and stuff and it might benefit them to, spend all the money. That would be huge customers, obviously, but.
Okay. If that's all, we know what our homework is. Do you have anything else? I'm sorry.
What did we do for homework? What was our homework?
You don't have any.
It's just
I
like
have
that.
some, and Sylvia has a couple of things she's gonna look at.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have any homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So what are we, February 3rd?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion,
I'll second that.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right.
February 4th.
I will not be here.
4th.
That's right, you won't be. Is someone-